name is Craig Johnson.
My name is Amy Johnson.
My name is Jake Sturgeon.
My name is Gemma Hughes.
And this is my presentation on epic theatre. So Bertolt Brecht was the one who created epic theatre. He's known as the practitioner for it. He was a German playwright and poet. He had numerous influences, like Karl Marx, who was the 20th century revolutionary socialist. So all of his influences were quite influential people as well. He had the courage to express his personal voice in theatre when that wasn't really something that often happened because of all the restrictions. So he's quite admired in that sense. Epic theatre was a contrast to naturalistic theatre, which was in its prime at the time of theatre being introduced. In naturalism, it's all about the audience developing emotions towards the characters, but Brecht didn't want that to happen. He wanted you to know that you're watching a play and not to have that emotional attachment which you would develop. So he would remind audience throughout the play that it was a play, and it was just representing real life instead of it actually being real life. So that was how epic theatre was created. He wanted, he was against catharsis because he thought, while the audience believed the action on stage and develop that emotional attachment, it would remove from the ability to judge what the characters are doing and what the actual play is about, because he included those political messages. Techniques he used were things like breaking the fourth wall. That means directly addressing the audience, and that wouldn't have happened normally. So while he was breaking this fourth wall, it would keep the audience thinking the entire time. There was also multi-rolling, so one person didn't play a specific character, they could have played numerous ones. This showed that it's, again, not a real thing, it's a play you're watching, and it's to keep you thinking about which character's which. Gestus was another Brechtian technique he used. It's where a character has a clear gesture or movement and captures the moment or the attitude of the environment instead of an emotion. So actors studied photographs, and during plays they rehearsed these gestures to make sure that it's fluid. This means that a gesture could be show a different emotion. So for example, a soldier marches across the stage and saluting, that is a gesture. If he was saluting as he marched over a stage with dead bodies laid about, it would be a gestus as a social comment about the type of person he represents. So it's all about showing different emotions with actions. And that's big theatre.
This is my presentation on naturalism, and these are a few plays that use naturalism. Naturalism is based on naturalism plays are based on things that are real life, but amped up. So the show EastEnders would use a death of someone, and it wouldn't be that simple. They'd amp it up, so if they get hit by a car, they wouldn't just fall to the ground, they'd roll over the bonnet, they'd roll about on the floor, and the scene would be a lot bigger than what it was. Stanislavski was the person who used this the most and was most famous for it, and he was Russian, and it was designed to make it as realistic as possible. And Johnny Depp, Scarlett Johansson, and Angelina Jolie were the people who used naturalism in the films.
So yeah, I did a presentation on naturalism as well. It was developed between the 19th and 20th century. It's also it's like what Jake said. It's basically realism, but it's amped up basically. They're not allowed to jump times, places within the show. It has to be in sync, as a normal day would go on. So for example, it wouldn't be say 3 o'clock in the afternoon and then boom, all of a sudden 8 o'clock at night. It would have to be in sync. realism is basically like naturalism, but it's just like everyday life. It's what would happen in an everyday kind of situation. It's got, in most plays, it's got like relatable topics. One of the examples is a play called Grow Up Grandad, where Grandad looks after his granddaughter because her mother died, and it's like turned into a bit of an abusive kind of thing, I think. So yeah. I've said explained the differences already. Naturalism doesn't look like a play, it just looks like you're watching a real life thing happening. It looks like you're just watching a situation happen in front of you. And it kind of makes you forget that you're in the audience watching a play, for instance. Stanislavski believed that when performing, the actors shouldn't just know the lines, but the motivation of the lines, where they come from, the story behind what they're actually saying. And he was the person to create the idea of naturalism and realism.
And I'm the last of our group. I did a presentation on style verbatim. Verbatim theatre is theatre made from real people's words, a form of documentary. So people that would be writing and directing plays, they do a load of interviews beforehand, they research everything behind a specific topic to basically use those real words inside a performance. So, in short, it's just an on-stage documentary, really. Verbatim theatre, like I've just said, is a transcription of interviews with people who are connected to a common event or subject. For example, if there was a murder committed in a certain town or place, they would interview everybody involved and try and get the full story together using just those people's words. Some examples. I actually have 2 links to videos that from movies that used verbatim. I couldn't find any videos of plays per se that weren't already made bigger by Hollywood films or such. So we've got the Laramie Project, which was in 2000, directed by Moises Kaufman, and the Tectonic Theatre Project. It was about the town of Laramie's reactions to the abduction and murder of a gay student called Matthew Shepard, and to the media's description of them as rednecked white trash. It was adapted as a film in 2002 with a starring cast, starring Steve Buscemi, I believe. And then we've got The Exonerated, which was in 2002 by Jessica Blank and Eric Johnson. It depicted wrongly convicted survivors of death row. So, thank you. We have actually 2 links to videos, but what we'll do is we'll show them at the end if necessary. The verbatim practitioner. There isn't a practitioner per se of the verbatim style. The one that was heavily influential towards it was Anna Devere Smith. She was born on September 18th, 1950. She's often been described as the pioneer of verbatim theatre due to 2 of her one-woman plays, Fires in the Mirror, 1992, and Twilight Los Angeles in 1992 also. Again, thank you from all of us for listening. A lot of the information from my perspective of the PowerPoint in terms of verbatim was directed from this website here. The site also has a lot more screens, screenplays, plays that use verbatim, so feel free to check it out whenever you can.
What other styles were you looking at?
As a group,
As a group, yeah.
I mainly looked at like epic theatre and naturalism again, because I think they're the main types that I normally associate with the plays I've done.
And I also did like naturalism and realism.
Yeah, I did naturalism and realism because I always thought they were 2 different things, but obviously as I found out they're actually very similar. So I thought I'd look into that because I didn't actually know what they were.
and I briefly looked into commedia dell'arte.
Cool. The video clips, what is actually included within those clips? What information will we find out from them?
On my clip, it's a man explaining like his thought of naturalism, because he's a Christian, so it might be a little bit different to him. And my other one is a play that uses naturalism.
Okay, so what will we get from those videos? Is it just the play itself, or...?
It's the full play, and it's just giving it a bit of knowledge on what naturalism is.
And that links with your style? Is that play using that style that you've chosen? Okay. Gemma?
My clips are of people describing realism and naturalism more in depth.
And what do they say?
They basically say that it's basically saying what I've already kind of explained, just in a more in-depth way. I can't exactly remember what they said word for word, but they basically explain what realism is in a more professional kind of way, like more in-depth, so people can get it in a different way, like their thoughts on it kind of thing as well.
Okay, Gemma, can you give me an example of a play or a movie or TV series that uses naturalism and realism?
Well, soaps, EastEnders, Hollywood, so those kind of programs, because they show everyday life, like how you normally do it. But obviously, like Jacob said, if you get run over by a car, you would just drop to the floor. They would roll over the bonnet. They would crack their head open. They'd make it a bit bigger than normal. To give it more dramatic effect. So obviously it's for entertainment, so that's why they would use it, because people wouldn't just want to watch someone drop to the ground. They would want to see action and more dramatic stuff.
Cool. Craig, remind me of your style, please.
Mine was verbatim.
Okay, can you give me an example of where we will see verbatim?
Verbatim is usually in like smaller theatres. So if there's been a specific project like the one that we have to do on radicalisation, a prevent project, a way we could go about it is people that have been involved in a direct situation, we could go ask them tons of questions, get their answers, and then make a script based on what they've given us.
Right, okay. Cool.